All right, welcome back to the channel. Today is a special day, it's a special video. We have Trevor Page here. I'm actually in his place. I'm visiting from Florida. I'm in Canada. And I just wanted to chat with him and ask him some questions. Most of you know him from his channel, Model 3 Owners, or as it's known now, Tesla Owners Online. I want to share this experience with you. So Trevor, thank you for allowing me a few minutes of your time to ask you questions and dig into your brain.
It's not a problem. Not a problem. Thanks for coming.
Sure.
Hope you enjoyed your time here.
Yes, loving it. Loving it. It's great. So first of all, thank you for opening your home to me.
My pleasure.
And Nancy, who's with me. I wanted to ask you a few questions so that I can share this information with my viewers. You have been a big personality on the Tesla scene in the US and all over the world. I know you don't think of yourself like that.
Making me feel funny here.
Well, but you are, right? Before anyone owned the Model 3, you already had a forum where people could
That's right.
share information and talk to me a little bit about that. But what made you start getting involved in the Tesla scene?
Ooh, that's a long story. As far as the Tesla thing is concerned, I've been a long-time Tesla follower. I think the first time I ever heard about Tesla was around about 2006, I think it was. This is before the Roadster was actually in production. But I do remember seeing an article from a company called AC Propulsion. I think it was in a Scientific American or one of those magazines, and it was, the yellow car. And I thought, that's very intriguing, a company that wants to do something electric. And then it just kind of went in the back of my mind. And then, of course, when Tesla came onto the scene, I was very intrigued with that. Now, I've been a car guy essentially my whole life, mainly because my father had muscle cars, and I've always helped him out with that type of thing. So cars in general has always interested me. Technology, of course, because that's what I do. I'm like you, I'm in the IT business. So, you marry electric cars with technology, and that gets my propeller spinning, and it's right up my alley. So obviously I've been following with Tesla. I watched the whole development program of the Model S and eventually the Model X. And when Tesla started talking about the Model 3, and the first time I think they really started talking about it was around 2013. And I thought, well, maybe that's the affordable car that I need to, because like many other people couldn't afford a Model S. So at that point, I started saving money as early as 2013, just thinking, okay, this might be something special. Anyways, you go through life, and I've been a long time internet person, of course, and every car that I've ever owned, I've always joined some kind of online forum because it's a good resource to talk to other people about what issues you're having or what modifications you've done. You know how it is. And I've run forums before for various different organizations, so it wasn't alien to me to do that. And when Tesla was getting ready to talk about the Model 3 as far as revealing it in March of 2016, I think it was around about October of 2015, I said, you know what, maybe I need to do some kind of forum or something like that, because I had a gut feeling that the Model 3 was going to be a pretty big deal. So, I thought about it for, a couple of months. I registered the domain, started the forum. And let me tell you, starting a forum from zero is really tough because you have nobody on there. You have to put all the content in. So it was a real labor of love. It took a long time to get people on there. And but it was really good because I got a lot of people involved on the forum because of the wait was so long for the Model 3. It was year and a half for production to really ramp up. So it was a good opportunity for people to get together and talk about what their wishes and what their experiences were. And eventually, when the car actually started coming out, the membership has been growing, and we have some fantastic forum sponsors now, which are wonderful, and they offer some really fantastic products and stuff. So it's really taken on a life of its own. So it's become this whole other business for me that it's grown into something I never expected it will. Now, at the same time, I started a YouTube channel. I already had a YouTube channel, but was not Model 3 focused. It wasn't Tesla or anything like that. And as soon as Tesla did the reveal of the Model 3, the very next day I put out a video because we were very lucky because they had that 3D model that they were rotating, and I was looking over that frame by frame by frame, and I noticed a whole bunch of really interesting little tidbits of information. So I put a video out the very next day. It was really rough. If you look at my current videos, it was nothing like the first one. We grow, we change as we go, and we develop our skills. But anyways, so that video actually timing was perfect because it kind of went viral. Almost got almost 1 million views on that video. And when I saw the response of that, I thought, maybe I have something here. Maybe I can build a YouTube channel around this to educate people about Tesla and their technology. And that's really where it came from. In the early days, it was all about educating and what it was, and that really helped things out. Of course, at the same time, I got involved with Twitter. I ignored Twitter for like the longest time, and really took to it. I just find the immediacy of Twitter is really nice to be able to get information out. And I just ended up combining all three, and just branded the whole thing as Model 3 Owners Club.
So, was it your intention to make it like a business?
No, never.
Okay. So you did it more to share the information and to learn and give people a forum to talk about these things, basically.
Yes. Yeah, it only became a business when I had very reputable companies coming and saying, we have some unique products for the Model 3, and I think there's some good value. And I'll be honest, I've had a lot of companies approach me, and I've had to turn some people away. It's just because there's just too much stuff. So I had to make sure that I aligned myself with some very good sponsors. We have some very good sponsors on the forum, and they offer very good, reputable companies with good products and stuff. So it's worked out quite well. But it's become a business that I never expected. It just kind of organically grew that way.
And how many people have you met through this adventure that you're in? Like, I'm betting that a lot of people, right? You've done a lot of trips related to Tesla and stuff?
Yeah, well, one of the things you discover with having a YouTube channel is, of course, people see you, and when you're out in the public, you get recognized. Depends on where you are. Some places, yes, some places not. More when it's more Tesla related. So when you go to a supercharger and like, hey, that kind of thing, or you go to a store or something like that. Because of the social media aspect, if I happen to be going on a trip or something like that, I'll say, hey, I'm going here or going there, and sometimes you meet people at superchargers or whatever, so that worked out quite nice. But yeah, the exposure is interesting. Some people can let it go to their heads. I don't. I'm just a guy. I'm a normal person like everybody else. I just happen to have a YouTube channel, and but it's nice. Every person I've ever met has always been really nice, and that makes me feel good. I mean, it doesn't get creepy at all. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. What is your favorite thing about Tesla? Not just Elon Musk related, right? Like, what is it about the community that makes it so special?
Well, as I said, probably like you, I've owned a lot of cars over the years, and I've been involved with different communities, but it's never been like this. This is something entirely different. This is a whole movement. Some people would call it a cult. I don't mind calling it a cult. It's a good cult to be in. I don't know. I think it's because the cars are so different, and they're so far superior to anything else I've ever owned in my life that you just get immediately attached to these things. And they're just objects at the end of the day, but they're so special. It's an extension of yourself. And for other people, it's like, okay, it's the technology. For some people, it's the electrification. For other people, it's the environmental aspect or whatever it is. But overall, for me, it's everything. It's the technology, it's the environmental impact and stuff. I mean, our house is very efficient. We've changed everything, the LED bulbs. I would put solar panels on it if Tesla was Tesla, if you're coming to Canada, please, put me on the list, type of thing. So yeah, it's everything. But as for me, I think the first thing was like really the technology. As a person who's involved in technology, it just, all the other cars on the market just feels like dinosaurs. I mean, they're just dinosaurs compared to these things. And not to say that they're bad cars or anything like that. It changes your perception completely about what cars can be forever. Cars are never going to be the same.
Yeah, true. What does your family think about this whole Tesla thing that you're doing? They think you're crazy?
No, the thing is with myself is that I'm very passionate about what I do. If I latch onto something, I go down the rabbit hole real deep. And I just immerse myself in it because it's interesting to me. And for me, it's a goal. I always have a goal in my life. If I get to this thing, once I reach that goal, I have another goal, and I just keep moving and moving and just keep progressing. So the Tesla thing interests me, and it's my life now almost. I'm getting close to retirement age, and I keep thinking about it all the time. And now I need something to entertain myself. So once we end up retiring, I still have this thing to do.
So you won a car, basically. Well, two of them.
Two of them, technically, yes.
Were you expecting to get to that level?
Never in a million years.
What do you think about that? Like, what do you think is going to be of your life after you have that? I know it's just a car.
Yeah.
I know it's an object, but this is a special one. Yeah. This is a car that has never been built before in terms of specs. The Tesla Roadster, second generation of the Tesla Roadster, which is the culmination of something big that Elon Musk and Tesla started many years ago. What do you think about that? I mean, gosh.
Well, I think the Roadster, and the thing is that if you listen to what Elon's been saying recently and what Tesla's been doing, the Roadster right now is not critical to Tesla's mission. It's very much a halo car, and I'm sure they're still working on it. It's not a priority for them. Even though they said originally it was supposed to be released in 2020, I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be a 2021 car. The nice thing about it is that Tesla doesn't leave things alone. They're going to keep tweaking this thing until... So what we saw in 2017, at the end of 2017, is not going to be the same car. I mean, physically it'll look the same, but the technology underneath, they're going to keep refining this thing. So I'm curious to see what ends up happening with this thing when it does come out. But as far as your question as did I ever expect this? No, not in a million years. I mean, I was just doing my thing. And honestly, part of it is because the last referral program, not the one that's currently right now, actually got a little out of hand. I mean, once they opened up reservation or the Model 3s to qualify towards referrals, because originally it was only Model S and Model X. And obviously, because of the audience that I have regarding Model 3, once that opened up, then my referrals just went through the roof. And I was surprised every day. It just kept climbing and climbing. I'm like, at what point are they going to cut this thing off? And so, yeah, technically I've won two of these things. I'll believe it when I see it. But yeah, it's very exciting. But I literally don't spend any time thinking about it. It'll be real when it's in my driveway.
So let's shift a little bit to something very, very different, because that's like the extravagant part of owning a Tesla, owning a Roadster. Man, that's insane. I wish I could do the same thing. But tell me a little bit about the whole movement, about the criticality of what the planet is going through and how Tesla plays a role. And it's not the only company. There's a ton of companies and a lot of people that are part of this movement, but Tesla is leading it in the sense of transportation, at least. And then they're doing some really cool stuff with solar and energy storage. What do you have to say about that? Like, is that part of what moves you also? The fact that Teslas are good for the environment? I know that there's a lot of haters that say, oh, but they're built using this or that, or, the electricity is not clean and whatnot. But let's, forgetting about the haters and the people that, think otherwise. The truth is that there's scientific proof that the planet is going through a very, very critical moment. Is this also part of what moves you, or is that something aside that you don't really dive into?
Publicly, it's not something that I really get into, but personally, it affects me. We've had this discussion before with other people. The planet would be perfectly happy if the human race disappeared. It would adjust, things would go back to normal, so to speak. The fact is that the climate crisis that we're seeing right now and the rise in the temperatures and everything, I mean, if you plot it on a graph, I mean, it pretty much coincides with the rise of the Industrial Revolution. We are partially responsible for this. And the problem is that you've got a lot of political figures and private industry corporations that don't want to change anything. They want the status quo. They want to keep making billions at the risk of everything else. And the fact is, when you look at it and you just kind of pull back, this is the only planet we have. Can't go anywhere else. Elon Musk likes to talk about Mars. That's way in the future. This is the only place we have. It's the only place we've ever known. everything that you've ever heard about or people that you've known is here on this planet. So it affects us all. And for me, getting an electric car and doing as much environmental responsible things as possible is just a contribution that you can do. It's free. Nobody had to incentivize me. Nobody tells me what to do. It's just, I just feel it's the right thing to do. Some people take it at a personal level. Other people want to make it more global. I'm all for global. I've long said that we need somebody to take the reins to do a Manhattan-style project or something like that, to just get people interested and do it. But, you know, you also mentioned haters. I don't spend any time talking to haters because, you know, with them, you know, don't bother with the facts, my mind's made up. And you just can't change those people. Unfortunately, the human species is very a reactionary species. We don't think too much ahead of things. It's like when something happens, some kind of big crisis, oh my God, now we need to change things. And you name the crisis, they'll adjust accordingly. But we're not wired, I don't think, to really look down the road and say, okay, if we do this, what are the consequences? I mean, the consequences really only affect people if it affects you personally. Otherwise, it doesn't exist. So I think for some people, it's a matter of trying to do the responsible thing for what you see it that way. So I'm not out to tell people what to do or what not to do. I just do what I think is interesting to me, and I think what can make a difference. As far as Tesla's concerned and what they're doing, you know, initially Tesla was very much a car company, and the battery technology that they developed now, they've been able to leverage now to get into other markets. You know, first it was energy storage, then it was solar. Now the solar thing, obviously, with the purchase of Solar City, has been a long time coming. Looks like it's finally coming to fruition. But if you look at them, they're basically spearhead. They are the company that everybody looks to say, okay, look, we can produce energy, we can store it, and we can consume it, and we make the whole thing. So I think if you set the bar high enough, it gives somebody to aspire to. We need some kind of lightning rod to get this thing going, and Tesla, as far as I'm concerned right now, is that lightning rod. Whether you agree with Elon Musk's style or not, that's up to you. I don't always agree with what he does, but he's a figurehead. It's much like Steve Jobs at Apple type of thing when they were around. They needed a figurehead to get them out of their doldrums. And as far as Tesla's concerned, I think it's still early days for the company, and there's still a lot of risks involved, but the risks are worth it. What they're trying to do and dragging the rest of the automotive industry into the 21st century, I think, is kind of important. You name the company, they've announced something electrified. Now, in all fairness, Tesla has 15-year lead on everybody and that kind of thing. So you have to give them a bit of a break. I know a lot of people say, well, you know, these guys have been around for 100 years, and then, you know, why can't Tesla do it? Well, you know, they're 16 years old, and you have to remember the other companies have been around for 100 years. They paid off these factories. The infrastructure's there. They have franchises. So Tesla's vertical. They're trying to do everything themselves. So you got to give them some leeway. But I will say this. What they've been able to do over the last 6 or 7 years of mass production cars. I'm not talking about the Roadster. It's nice, but it's not like building Model S and now Model 3. What they've been able to do over the last 6 or 7 years, to me, is astonishing. And what's going to happen over the next 6 or 7. And because Tesla, in all fairness, right now at this particular time, owns the automotive business in terms of electrification, like they have the largest market share of anybody. And if they keep growing and keep improving and keep innovating like they are right now, while the other guys are still playing catch up, there might be a time when Tesla might end. If things keep going, they might end up owning the whole car market. I know it sounds crazy to say that, but it's like if people are looking at buying electric vehicles and Tesla just keeps improving the way they are right now, and the competition is still lagging behind, it's going to be tough. I'm all for all companies getting electrified. We need this. But it just seems like every day in the news they say, oh, we're going to do electrification. And then the next day, oh, you know, diesel's actually better. Like, make up your minds, do something. So I think it's important for all the car companies to actually get on board. But, you know, just keep at it. And hopefully next year we'll actually start seeing the fruits of these labors. I mean, I've been saying to people for a long time, you don't design a car in 6 months. You know, it takes 5-6 years to design a car. Traditional car makers, not Tesla. But so, you know, if they started their programs 4 or 5 years ago, next year should be the year when we actually start seeing more than one car in the showroom, or a car in the showroom, because right now there's not a lot to choose from.
Great. So you have the environment on your mind, but you're concentrating on talking about the vehicles right now because that's where you specialize, right? If you had to tell people one thing, the main reason why getting a Tesla is the right choice to switch from a gasoline car right now, what would that reason be? Like,
I don't think you put your finger on any one thing. One thing that I've discovered over talking about Tesla in general for the last 3.5 years, I guess it's been, is you can talk about electric vehicles and their advantages in Tesla or whatever until you're blue in the face. The thing that gets people to understand is you got to get them behind the wheel. Let them drive the car. Get them in the car. And then you'll notice the nature of the questions completely change. It goes from like, well, I'm not too sure, and what about this, and what about that, to like, holy cow, I want this. I've never met a person that's ever been in my Tesla who came away not impressed. It's like, holy mackerel, this thing is so different. That's why, you say you get in these cars and it completely changes your perception about cars permanently. You'll be changed forever. I know it sounds corny. If you're listening to this channel, you've never been in a Tesla, it's a life-changing experience. It sounds corny, but it's absolutely true. Every person that's ever been in the car, it always says the same thing.
it is, I think the same thing. I think it changed my life. I think it changes the life of anyone that owns one for the first time. Is there anything that you would like to share? A lot of people from your channel know a lot of stuff about you, but maybe my audience, which is a lot smaller, but they don't know you, what would you like people to know about yourself that people may not know?
Oh, goodness. What can I say about that? I don't know. I think the first thing that comes to mind is that I'm a completely self-taught person. Everything I've ever done in my life has been self-taught. And I think there's a name for that, and I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's autodidact or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's the term. I'm not too sure. I've always had an interest in different things. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut because I wanted to push the buttons. I like all the buttons. And for me, obviously not being an astronaut, the next best thing is being in technology because you get to push the buttons. So that was just kind of one of those things. As a kid, I was always fascinated with anything mechanical, electrical, electronic, whatever. I would take things apart and discover how they worked and put them back together. So I've always been a very handy person doing that kind of thing. So that's kind of my side hobby is mechanical stuff. Listen, if it wasn't for the computer aspect of what I do, to go back and roll back my life 30 years to start over again, I think I would go back for mechanical engineering. That's the thing I would, to get a formal education would have been mechanical engineering, but it's too late for me now. But I just keep doing what I do. And, but yeah, I think that's the main thing is just whatever I latch onto. And I've done a lot of different things. I just go right down the rabbit hole and just learn everything I can about it.
Awesome. Wow. You and I so much alike. It's incredible. People wouldn't believe the things that we have in common.
Brothers from a different mother, right?
Incredible. Trevor, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me and my audience. Thank you for having us here in your home, and we will be back.
It's my pleasure. Come back in the wintertime. We can go tubing.
I'll do that. Awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
So there you have it. That was Trevor, our good friend from Canada, and you will see more of him in my channel, and I will be on his. Thank you again, and have a great day. Stay charged.